Most of the time, we think of plants as being still and doing nothing but soaking up the sun and growing. But did you know plants are a lot more than that? Plants have created many remarkable changes and behaviors that help them live and grow in their environments. In this video, we'll show you 10 things about plants you didn't know. You'll be amazed by what these complex organisms can do, like sense danger and defend themselves, attract pollinators, and even change their environment. So get ready to learn about a side of plants you've never heard of before. Number 10. Talking through roots. At first glance, trees don't look like much, their branches sway gently in the wind, and animals nest in their trunks. So you might be surprised that the quiet tree you're used to seeing is probably having a full-fledged conversation under your feet. Researchers have found that plants can talk with an underground network of fungi. This network of fungi does many things for the plant. One study found that tomato plants could use the fungus web to tell each other when harmful blight was spreading. In another study, it was found that nutrients could move between trees that were linked by fungi. Suzanne Simard of the University of British Columbia found this evidence in 1997. She also thinks more giant trees send nutrients to smaller trees to help them live. Fungi can also hurt unwanted plants by spreading poisonous chemicals to them. In short, trees can send messages, share resources, and spread malware. It sounds like plants knew how to use the internet long before we did. Number 9. Sending out an SOS. You might think that if you lived in the middle of a forest, it would be hard to get help when needed, but plants don't have that problem. Even though they can't move, they are not helpless regarding herbivorous insects. Some plants have a terrific way to protect themselves from being eaten. When they sense that they are being eaten, they release a chemical into the air that attracts the insect that is eating them. The enemy swoops in and attacks the bug, which stops it from eating the plant. This is the plant version of getting your older brother to beat up the kid who stole your lunch money. Number 8. The forest made from one tree. Nature is full of unexpected things. Just when you start to believe her when she says it takes many trees to make a forest, bam! You get hit with the world's most enormous cashew tree in the Brazilian city of Natal. A local fisherman planted this tree in 1888. It covers about 7,500 square meters, which is 81,000 square feet, and is about 500 meters around, that is 1,600 feet, that is the size of about 75 tennis courts. According to the Guinness World Records, the Natal cashew tree is the largest in the world. So, why is this tree so enormous? It grows the way it does because of two strange things in its genes. For one thing, the branches grow sideways instead of up. The second weird thing is that the side branches get so heavy that they eventually touch the ground. But instead of just resting, the branches send out roots. The new branch starts growing up like a whole new tree. According to estimates, the tree makes more than 60,000 cashew fruits during harvest time. Number 7. Pando, the giant who spread out. Pando is another excellent example of how nature can confuse your ideas about what a single tree should look like. In Utah's Fish Lake National Forest, where Pando is, there are 47,000 shaking aspens. On the other hand, the trunks are all connected to the same massive root system, so they are all genetically identical. Pando reproduces without sperm or eggs by sending up new trunks. Pando is 107 acres big and 6,615 tons heavy. It is thought to be at least 80,000 years old. Some estimates say it could be as old as 1,000,000 years. It was felt the largest living thing on Earth, but now that title goes to the 1,000-acre fungal mats in Oregon. The quaking aspens get their name from how their leaves shake, even with no wind. Number 6. Plants can smell. When we think of animals with a strong sense of smell, dogs and sharks frequently come to mind. Most of the time, we don't think of plants as having a sense of smell, but it turns out that smelling is another way for plants to stay alive. Daniel Shamovitz, a botanist, says that plants can tell when their fruit is ready, when a neighboring plant has been cut down, or when an insect is eating the adjacent plant. The spiny daughter vine, a parasite, can smell tomato plants. Because of this, tomato farmers only like it a little. As the vine grows from a seedling, it recognizes the tomato plant, moves toward it, wraps itself around it, and progressively takes its food. How do we know that the daughter vine is smelling the tomato? In an experiment, biologist Dr. Consuelo D. Morais put an artificial tomato plant and an empty container on either side of a growing daughter vine. It didn't grow into any of the pots. But when she put a natural tomato plant next to a daughter vine, the vine grew toward the tomato, even when the tomato was in the dark or out of sight. Number 5. Plants know when it's time. You may already know that people and animals have a circadian rhythm that tells our bodies when to get up and go to sleep. But did you realize that this clock is also within plants? This implies that, just like us, they can get ready for particular periods of the day. For example, plants don't only move when the sun comes up. They know that dawn is approaching, and their bodies prepare for it. In very significant research, scientists from the University of Cambridge figured out that plants utilize the sugars they make to keep track of time. These sugars assist in controlling the genes that control the plant's circadian rhythm. So, wakes up with the chickens and wakes up with the petunias are both correct. Number 4. Without snow, there's no wheat. If you passed by a field of wheat buried in snow in the winter, would you think the wheat would grow well in the spring? A kind called winter wheat needs snow to live through frigid winters. It may be more helpful than a heavy rainstorm. Snow keeps the soil hydrated and the wheat and soil from being too cold. Without the snow, the cold would hurt the roots of the delicate plants, and the plants would perish precisely as if they were hot and dry. So, those of you who didn't realize that snow could help wheat grow, you know now. Number 3. Can they see it? The notion of a plant that can see isn't new. Francis Darwin, Charles Darwin's son, was the first to postulate that plants had light-sensitive cells that looked like lenses. Later, these cells were found and called ocelli, but no one talked about it again. Then, in 2017, two plant scientists, František Beluska and Stefano Mankis, figured out that a specific single-cell bacteria worked similarly to ocelli by sensing light. They thought that if lower-level species could work this way, it was probable that higher-level plants would still have this important trait. Recent research also shows that certain plants, including cabbage, generate proteins that are known to be involved in making eye spots. These are the eyes of single-celled organisms like algae, which are very simple. And then there are the weird things plants can do that we don't understand yet, like how the climbing vine Bocchila trifoliolate takes on the colors and form of its host plant. Now that the concept that plants can see is back in style, there is more and more evidence that they can. Number 2. Sensing stranger danger. The sea rocket plant is unique, with its fleshy leaves and ability to thrive on beach sand. But that's not all this mustard plant cousin has to offer. Sea rockets are even more intriguing since they are picky about who lives near them. If a sea rocket notices that a plant growing beside it isn't related, it will quickly send out roots that grab nutrients from the soil. If the plant in issue is a kinfolk, the sea rocket stops aggressively sucking up nutrients from it. Unique, considering that many animals can't tell who their relatives are. Number 1. Bees that need coffee. Do you know how people are so addicted to caffeine that they buzz in and out of cafes for regular coffee fixes? It turns out that even bees are addicted to the stuff. The nectar of 55% of flowering plants has caffeine in it. Bees are more likely to go to the nectar with caffeine in it, and when they do, they get really excited about it. In an experiment published in the journal Current Biology, scientists put nectar into 2 containers and added caffeine to one of them. Bees that drank the caffeinated nectar were likelier to do the waggle dance for other bees when they returned to the hive. This is how they tell the other bees about the quality and location of the nectar they find. The caffeine in the nectar made the bees dance faster, which gave the impression that the nectar was better than it was. This isn't surprising since many of us drink caffeine to at least look like we're interested in work. Since the bees that visit the caffeine-producing plants give them such good reviews, they are likely to attract a lot of bees and spread their pollen. And there's the end of our list of 10 amazing things plants can accomplish that you didn't realize they could do. From their capacity to talk to one another and protect themselves to their ability to change and keep going, plants are amazing creatures. So the next time you're out in nature, look at the plants around you and appreciate everything they provide for us and the planet we live on. Thanks for viewing, and be sure to subscribe to our channel if you want to learn more about the amazing things in nature.